The feeling of spiritual emptiness is one that sneaks up on many of us. At first, it seems like something we can manage or push aside, but as time passes, the weight becomes harder to ignore. It's the quiet, hollow feeling that grows when we lose our sense of purpose, connection, or meaning. Many of us are taught to focus on the material world, achievements, wealth, status, but when those things fail to fill the deeper void within, we realize that something crucial is missing. Spiritual emptiness can show up in subtle ways. You might feel lost, even when everything seems to be going well on the surface. There's a nagging sense that something is off, yet it's hard to pinpoint what it is. Your life might look successful to others, but internally, you feel disconnected from yourself and those around you. This is one of the most dangerous aspects of spiritual emptiness. It doesn't always look like suffering on the outside. The world we live in often encourages us to distract ourselves when we feel this way. We turn to endless entertainment, social media, shopping, or work to fill the gap. But none of these things truly address the core issue. They simply mask it for a while, leaving the emptiness to grow silently in the background. Over time, this can lead to feelings of isolation, anxiety, or even depression, because we've neglected to nurture the spiritual side of ourselves that craves meaning, purpose, and connection. One of the first dangers of spiritual emptiness is that it can rob you of joy. When you're spiritually disconnected, even the things that used to bring you happiness can start to feel dull. Activities that once excited you lose their spark, and you may feel like you're just going through the motions. Life becomes something you endure rather than something you experience fully. Without a strong sense of spiritual grounding, it's easy to get trapped in this cycle, feeling as though there's nothing that can pull you out. Another danger is the loss of direction. Spiritual emptiness can make it hard to know where you're going or why you're doing the things you do. Without a clear purpose, every decision feels uncertain, and every path seems like it could be the wrong one. This uncertainty creates stress and often leads to indecision or feelings of being stuck. You might find yourself questioning everything, your career, your relationships, even your identity, but unable to come up with any answers. Relationships also suffer when spiritual emptiness takes hold. When you're disconnected from yourself, it becomes challenging to connect deeply with others. You may feel distant from the people you care about or struggle to maintain meaningful relationships. The emptiness inside makes it hard to give and receive love fully, and over time, this can create a sense of isolation that's hard to break. It's like trying to pour from an empty cup. There's nothing left to give, and eventually, it leaves both you and the people around you feeling unfulfilled. In the midst of spiritual emptiness, many people feel a lack of fulfillment even in their successes. You can achieve all the goals you set out for yourself, but instead of feeling satisfied, you're left with a sense of, is this it? This can be a dangerous point because it may lead you to believe that no matter what you do, nothing will ever be enough. This belief can spiral into a sense of hopelessness if it isn't addressed. It's important to recognize that spiritual emptiness is not just a state of mind, it affects your entire well-being. It can manifest physically, with fatigue, lack of motivation, and even illness. Your body responds to the lack of spiritual nourishment just as much as your mind and heart do. Ignoring these signs can lead to long-term consequences, both mentally and physically, that are much harder to reverse. One of the most profound dangers of spiritual emptiness is that it can lead to a life lived on autopilot. When you're not spiritually engaged, it's easy to let life pass by without truly living it. You fall into routines, doing what's expected or what seems necessary, but there's no deeper connection to what you're doing. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, and before you know it, years have passed with little to show for it in terms of personal growth or fulfillment. This is one of the most tragic outcomes of spiritual emptiness, time lost to a state of numbness and detachment. However, recognizing that you are spiritually empty is the first step toward change. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the weight of that realization, but it also provides an opportunity to rebuild. Spirituality doesn't have to be tied to any specific religion or belief system, it's about finding meaning and connection in whatever way resonates with you personally. For some, that might be through meditation, spending time in nature, or engaging in creative expression. The key to overcoming spiritual emptiness is to begin by reconnecting with yourself. Take time to reflect on what truly matters to you, beyond the material and superficial aspects of life. What brings you a sense of peace, joy, or purpose? It might take time to rediscover these things, especially if they've been buried under years of distraction or neglect. But this process of self-discovery is crucial to filling the void within. It's also important to acknowledge that spiritual fulfillment doesn't happen overnight. Just as spiritual emptiness can creep in gradually, finding your way back to a place of connection and purpose is a journey. There will be moments when you feel lost or unsure, but those are part of the process. The most important thing is to keep moving forward, even when it feels difficult or uncertain. Another way to counteract spiritual emptiness is to practice gratitude and mindfulness. These practices help ground you in the present moment, allowing you to appreciate the small things in life that often go unnoticed. When you take the time to be present and grateful, it becomes easier to find meaning in the everyday experiences that can otherwise seem mundane. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what you have, creating a sense of abundance rather than emptiness. Cultivating relationships that nourish your spirit is equally important. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you, who understand the deeper aspects of life, and who can support you on your journey. Building a strong support system of like-minded individuals can provide the connection and encouragement you need to stay spiritually grounded, even when life gets challenging. It's also helpful to engage in activities that feed your soul. Whether it's reading, art, music, or simply spending time in silence, these activities can help reignite the spark within you. The more you engage in things that bring you joy and peace, the less room there is for spiritual emptiness to take hold. Ultimately, spiritual fulfillment comes from within. It's about aligning with your true self and finding meaning in life beyond the surface. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and busyness of the world, but taking the time to nurture your spiritual well-being is essential for living a life of purpose and connection. When you do, you'll find that the emptiness begins to fade, replaced by a sense of wholeness and peace. In conclusion, spiritual emptiness is something that many people experience at some point in their lives, but it doesn't have to be a permanent state. By recognizing the signs and taking proactive steps to reconnect with yourself and what truly matters, you can fill the void and live a more meaningful, fulfilling life. The journey to spiritual fulfillment may not always be easy, but it's one that's worth taking. As we close this discussion, it's important to reflect on the value of spiritual awareness in our lives. While it's easy to get caught up in the material world, nurturing your inner self is essential to living a life of deeper meaning and connection. Spiritual emptiness can quietly take over, and the dangers it brings may go unnoticed until it starts affecting every part of your life. However, the choice to fill that emptiness and find purpose is always within reach. You can begin today. Take time for yourself, seek what truly brings you fulfillment, and don't be afraid to explore new practices that align with your core values. The path to spiritual nourishment is deeply personal and unique to each of us. By staying connected to your inner self, you can experience a life that feels richer and more grounded, even in challenging times. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to support this channel. Make sure to like this video if you found it valuable, as your engagement helps others discover this content as well. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected and receive more insights on topics like this in the future. If you're interested in continuing this conversation, hit the subscribe button and join us on this journey of learning and self-awareness. Also, be sure to turn on notifications after subscribing, so you won't miss any upcoming videos that can further inspire and guide you. Lastly, leave a comment below if you have thoughts or questions about today's topic. Your feedback is always appreciated, and we'd love to hear how you're applying these insights in your life.